Chocolate, waffles, and beer. Belgium is widely known for its food and is a great place to visit because of the culture, architecture, and history. But how does it rank as somewhere to live? Let's find out. I'm Kalie from Expats Everywhere.
And I'm Josh. Today we're going to break down some of the practical aspects of living in Belgium. But first, let's start with some geography and history. Belgium sits just below the Netherlands and borders 3 other countries: Germany, Luxembourg, and France.
Just a quick side note before we continue, if you're also interested in learning more about Luxembourg, we actually made a country guide on that, so you can find that video linked below.
Belgium has existed since the mid-1st century BC, but for most of its history, it was part of other empires and territories such as the Roman Empire, for example. Fast forward to 1815, where the Congress of Vienna grouped most of today's Belgium into what was then called the United Kingdom of the Netherlands.
It wasn't until 1830 that Belgium established its independence from the Netherlands following the Belgian Revolution. Some other interesting historical facts about Belgium is that during the 1800s, it was one of the first countries to jump into the Industrial Revolution, and actually the very first in mainland Europe to industrialize.
Belgium is a federal constitutional monarchy, which basically means that the king is the head of the state, while the prime minister runs the government in a multi-party system. Power isn't all in one place though. It's split across 3 levels: federal government, 3 language-based communities, which are Flemish, French, and German speaking, and 3 regions, which are Flanders, Wallonia, and Brussels capital.
They're all equal in status, but each handles different responsibilities. And here's a cool fact. Brussels is one of just 3 official seats of the European Union, along with Luxembourg City and Strasbourg.
Here's another fact about Brussels. The city hosts the European Commission, the Council of the EU, and the European Council, and even one of the 2 European Parliament seats. On top of that, NATO and tons of other international organizations are based here.
Belgium is also one of the 29 countries that makes up the Schengen area. So if you already have a Schengen visa, you can easily travel here to visit or to live. But of course, if you plan on staying here, then you'll have to work on getting a residence permit.
Yeah, Belgium's role in the European Union shows us just how connected this country is to the rest of Europe. But being at the center of so much international activity doesn't just shape politics, it also shapes everyday life.
Yeah, so to really understand what it means to live in Belgium, we need to look at something more personal: the cost of living. Because before you can imagine yourself here working, studying, or even just living, you'll want to know what life actually costs.
Belgium easily sits in the top 15 most expensive countries in Europe to live. To put that in perspective, the estimated monthly cost for a family of 4 is around 3,400 euros, excluding rent. And estimated monthly cost for a single person is around 1,000 euros, excluding rent.
Rent varies by city and proximity to the center, but in popular spots like Brussels and Antwerp, a 1-bedroom typically runs between 1,000 and 1,500 euro, while 2 bedrooms ranges from 1,500 to nearly 2,000. As the capital, Brussels tends to be pricier, so keep that in mind.
As far as basic utilities like electric, gas, and water go for an 85 square meter apartment, it will cost around 200 euros per month, and a basic mobile phone plan will cost around 20 euros a month.
So utilities cover the basics, but to really understand the cost of living, we need to look at everyday essentials. And nothing is more essential than food, whether it's groceries for home or meals at a restaurant. So let's break down what you can expect to pay for food.
All right, a loaf of bread will cost around 2 euros, a dozen of eggs will cost around 3.50, a kilo of apples will be around 2.50, and a liter of milk for around €1. And as we mentioned earlier, Belgium is pretty well known for its food. So let's talk about what sort of food they have at restaurants and how much it will cost.
Right, so some of the foods we have already mentioned are chocolate, waffles, and beer. But did you also know that Belgium is really known for its fries? Many people believe that the French fries actually originated in Belgium, but that is largely up for debate.
All right, well, regardless of where they originated, if you visit Belgium, you have to try their fries, also known as frites or frites. Another dish that you should try also involves fries, which is moules frites, and it's a dish with mussels and fries. And while the name is French, it's actually the national dish of Belgium.
If you plan on visiting a restaurant in Belgium, you can expect to pay around 20 euros for an inexpensive meal. And if you decide to enjoy a 3-course meal for 2 people at a mid-range restaurant, it might cost you around 80 euros.
But there's more to Belgian culture than just the food. Let's dive into what else Belgium has to offer.
Walk through Brussels and you'll see Belgium's Art Nouveau influence built right into the cityscape. Step into a museum or even a cathedral and you'll find masterpieces from the Flemish painters. And it's not just the classics. Folk traditions are still celebrated in both indoor and outdoor museums. Altogether, Belgium's heritage makes it a real artistic spot.
Now, music runs deep in Belgium as well. Believe it or not, this is the birthplace of the saxophone, thanks to Antoine Joseph Sax. And while jazz may have started in the United States, Belgium quickly made it part of their own culture. On top of that, the country hosts major annual music events like the Queen Elizabeth International Music Competition, keeping its music scene lively and world-renowned.
Festivals in Belgium are a huge part of the culture, but whether you're dancing outside at a concert or exploring a city fair, there's one thing that can make or break the experience: the weather. So what's the climate really like here?
All right, well, if you're not a fan of the heat and prefer the cold and rainy weather, then Belgium might be the right country for you because it doesn't tend to get too hot here. For example, in Brussels, the summers are comfortable and partly cloudy, and the winters are long, cold, windy, and mostly cloudy. Over the course of the year, the temperature ranges typically from 34 Fahrenheit to 74 Fahrenheit, and rarely below 22 or above 85.
Now, the temperature will vary depending on how close you are to the coast, but generally speaking, the best time to visit Belgium is from mid-May to mid-September. The temperatures are mild, the sky is often cloudy, but the percentage of sunshine is not so low. The midsummer period from July to August is relatively warm, but it's also rainiest because of the afternoon thunderstorms that can form, especially in inland areas.
All right, now that we know what the weather looks like, the big question is, where should you actually go? Two of Belgium's standout cities are Brussels and Antwerp, and each offer something completely different, but equally worth exploring.
All right, so Brussels, the capital, is where you can get the full Belgian experience from the history, food, art, and the international culture. And if you're interested in visiting a UNESCO World Heritage Site, then you can visit the Grand Place in Brussels. It's one of the most memorable landmarks in Brussels, and it's considered to be one of the most beautiful squares in the world.
Brussels draws a lot of people for different reasons. Expats often move here for work. The salaries and benefits are solid, even if the taxes feel a bit heavy. Families appreciate the bilingual schools and all the green spaces around the city. And for international students, Brussels is especially appealing thanks to its strong universities and relatively affordable education.
While there are a lot of pros to living in Brussels and Belgium in general, there are also some cons to be aware of. Some would include the fact that while it is very international, it can still be difficult to find an English-speaking job here. According to some sources, around 90% of job vacancies require you to speak at least one of Belgium's official languages.
Some other cons are that the city is very congested due to many people preferring driving over using public transportation. Brussels also is not the cheapest place to live, and there's a complex political system. Katie's going to explain that a little further.
Right, so when people say Brussels, they're usually talking about the whole region, not just the city itself. The actual city of Brussels is just one of 19 communes, and it's the historic center of the Brussels capital region. To make things even trickier, each commune has its own set of rules for basically everything.
So even basics like registering with your commune or getting a residence permit aren't the same everywhere. The documents you'll need and even how you deal with the town hall can vary from one commune to another. So if you're moving to Brussels, it's best to check directly with your local municipality to know exactly what they require.
Now let's move on to Antwerp, which is considered to be one of the happiest places in the world as of 2025, according to the Happiest Cities Index.
All right, Antwerp feels more laid back and more manageable compared to the hustle of Brussels. It's smaller, easier to get around, and still has a big city vibe without feeling overwhelming. And generally, rent and daily expenses in Antwerp are a bit lower than Brussels, which makes it attractive for students, young professionals, and families.
Antwerp is a major port city and actually one of the biggest in Europe. It's a hub for trade, logistics, and business opportunities outside of the EU institution focus in Brussels. So keep that in mind for work opportunities. Dutch is the main language here, unlike Brussels, which is officially bilingual, which some people find simpler and less politically complicated.
In short, choose Antwerp if you want a more affordable, creative, and relaxed lifestyle, but with still all of the perks of a vibrant European city.
Now, we briefly mentioned public transportation, international schools, and the healthcare system. Let's dive into that a little more to really give you an idea of what living in Belgium as a whole would be like.
Okay, so you can find buses, trams, and taxis all over the country. You can travel by tram in the cities of Brussels, Antwerp, Ghent, and Charleroi. And you can actually travel along the entire coast by taking the coast tram.
So there is actually a metro system, but it's currently only available in Brussels. Whether or not it's better to just buy a car if you live here really depends on your lifestyle and where you live.
Knowing the public transportation system is important if you're planning on working here or sending your kids to school here. As we've mentioned before, Belgium is a very international country with lots of different cultures, so you'll not find a lack of international schools or universities here.
Another thing to consider if you have kids, and obviously for yourself as well, is the healthcare system. Healthcare in Belgium is universal and mostly funded through taxes and Social Security. Everyone has to sign up with a sickness fund, but the upside is you can choose your own doctor or hospital.
Most costs are covered, though you'll still have to pay part of the bills yourself, and if you want full reimbursement, private insurance is an option. The system works well overall, giving nearly everyone access to care and helping everyone enjoy a long, healthy life.
Belgium might be small, but it's full of surprises. It's famous for its food, medieval cities, and role as the EU's political hub. With strong healthcare, efficient transport, a welcoming expat community, life here is both practical and enjoyable. But would Josh and I live here?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I've always enjoyed our explorations in Belgium.
Yes.
We've kind of been visiting Belgium over the past 15 years or so. And it's given us a different feel each time we go because we seem to be visiting different spots, which is nice. I think maybe Brussels is the only place we've been twice.
Right.
I think.
I think so too.
So yeah, we took a recent trip, and I've also gotten more perspective because I did an interview with Colby, which you can also find on the channel, where we talked about him moving from the U.S., from California, to a smaller town in Belgium.
Right.
Although it's not a small town. It's one of the major top 10 cities.
Well, I guess it's smaller compared to Brussels, Antwerp.
Leuven,
maybe,
yeah.
Yeah, Bruges as well is probably bigger.
I think so.
All right, so Brussels feels like a big city. I do think it's really cool that they have such for the size of Belgium in general, and then Brussels, it has such a big EU presence with all the political things. And you can go see the flags, and you can see where they meet. And so that's a pretty cool thing that they have going on.
Yeah, I feel like it's just jam-packed with culture, right? You've got historic architecture, but then you've got a ton of museums. You have a ton of international people. You see people that look and speak differently all over the place.
Yes, definitely in Brussels. All over the country, but definitely in Brussels. Actually, we got a conversation where we're like, what does a Belgian really look like? Because it's so mixed there.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool, but then that does help with the language aspect. If you don't speak one of their languages, then you find English in Brussels for sure. But then Antwerp has a completely different feel.
Yeah, for sure. As we were talking about how it's more laid back, you feel like you could just walk the whole city almost. It has this very walkable feel. It doesn't feel too big compared to Brussels, where everything feels kind of spread out.
You want to take public transportation to get around.
Be more efficient, yeah. But overall, I feel like Antwerp has a very laid back feel.
It does. And something we didn't mention earlier is that they are known for their diamonds. So they have a really cool history with diamonds, and they're beautiful to look at. Or buy if you want, but I do like that that is a history that they have there, and they have a museum and everything about it.
Yeah, for sure. The food scene and certainly the beer scene, we didn't really talk much, front end of this video about the beers. If you're a beer fan, man, it might be the place to be. It might just be the place to be.
I think I fell in love with the cherry Le Chouffe there, which is hard to find elsewhere. You can find Le Chouffe elsewhere, but not the cherry one. Yeah. It was really good, so I definitely had my fill while we were there.
And the thing that I love about Belgium whenever we visit is the opportunity to visit different museums. There's just a wide variety of different types of museums that you can go to.
Unique ones.
So, yeah, we went to a Diva museum.
Diamonds and gems.
We went to one of the oldest breweries. We went on their brewery tour, and although that's not a museum, but it's kind of like a tour. So if you're living there, you wouldn't run out of things to do, for one. But even when people come and visit, you have really interesting things to do, and you probably never touch them all. You always have something to discover if that's what you're into.
All right, going back to the food. So we talked about the beer. Of course, they've got the chocolate and the waffles, like we said. And they have mussels, which are really good, and then the French fries. So overall, I think Belgian food is good. But then because of in the bigger cities, you can, of course, find other cuisines if you're looking for it too.
Yeah, we weren't lacking options. Anytime we visit a place and we're there for more than a couple of days, we don't just want to eat the local cuisine. We want to, try things that we can't get.
See what else is available.
Yeah, even try things that we can't get while we're in Porto, So that was nice that we had so many international cuisine options.
Yeah, that makes it easy. Okay, but one thing I definitely have to talk about is the weather.
Ooh, yes.
It rains there, it's cool there, and that's a thing for sure.
Yeah, so we visited, I think, at all different times of year. But this past winter when we went there, it was just wet the whole
A
time.
lot, yeah. Which obviously puts a damper on things. Like we were there for New Year's and it's like going out to see fireworks and everything. It's like, oh, it's rainy. And so it's like that could, if you're thinking about doing outdoor things, you might have to adjust your plans.
Well, I mean, you just learn how to dress as well.
That's true. But I mean, do you want to be out in it as well?
I think you either get used to it or you get depressed and leave.
That's true. So yeah, so it's not as sunny and it is rainy, so keeping that in mind. But you know, if you're going for that, like we said earlier, like if you want to be away from the heat, which that's definitely something that people enjoy. They don't want to be in the heat; they get too hot, and they would rather have a cooler climate. Then different parts of Belgium could work for you.
For sure. I was actually just talking to some friends yesterday who are from New Mexico, and they left New Mexico and wanted to get to like a cooler, wetter environment that's, you know, all year round. Because of that, they wanted to escape that. So they didn't choose like further south in Europe. They wanted to be in a cooler, wetter place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so we at that time?
I think we're at that time. I think that was a pretty good breakdown.
Yeah, so I want to ask Kalie the question and ask you the question, would you expat that? So would you want to live in Belgium for, you know, medium term, 3 to 5 years?
I'm going to go ahead and say no. I think the weather scares me. The location. It has a lot of cool things to do. I mean, obviously we've been back to the country in lots of the different cities several times. So I like to visit there, but I don't think I would want to live there. And maybe it's the weather. That's probably the main thing, the weather. You?
I'm going to agree with that, but I think it's more down to like, I didn't get a vibe of the people.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, we're living in Portugal and there's this like openness, friendliness that we have with people here. And we've noticed it in a couple other European countries as well. I didn't catch that vibe anytime I visited. They're nice. Like we have some friends that are from Belgium that we've met abroad, not while actually in Belgium. And they're nice, they're affable people. But like just on the streets, kind of on a regular basis, like you don't get that feeling.
It's a bit of a coldness, I guess you could say.
Yeah, or reservedness.
Okay.
I think that's what would concern me about moving there. I mean, if a job relocated me, I wouldn't be so worried. I would, you know, I could live a couple years, but I wouldn't choose it per se. Does that make sense?
That doesn't. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, well, it's over to you. And like we said earlier, if you want to check out our Luxembourg guide, that's here. Or if you want to check out the interview I did with Colby, that's also right here. Now, let's get moving.
Bye.
Bye.